Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky received an honor guard welcome on Saturday, kicking off his official visit to Serbia. The Ukrainian leader then proceeded to meet with Serbian counterpart Aleksandar Vučić at the presidential palace. The talks come as Ukraine seeks to strengthen international support amid Russia's ongoing and intensifying strikes. As part of the visit, the two nations signed a memorandum of understanding in which Vučić said Ukraine and Serbia will soon deliver a free trade deal.
This free trade agreement is of an utmost importance for our country with Ukraine, and we're going to work hard, and I believe that swiftly and efficiently will deliver it to our people.
Serbia is one of the few European countries that continues to maintain close ties with Moscow and has repeatedly refused to impose tougher sanctions against Russia. Belgrade is seeking to balance this relationship with Moscow against pressure from the European Union to align with the bloc's foreign policy. By hosting Zelensky, Vučić is therefore sending a strong signal to the EU, but also to Russia.
Ukraine insisted on Saturday that it did not intentionally target Bulgaria after a drone exploded in Bulgarian territory near its border with Romania. A spokesperson for Ukraine's top diplomat said that Kyiv is in close contact with Sofia and promised to, quote, clarify the incident after an inquiry. Bulgarian Prime Minister Rumen Radev earlier announced on Saturday that an explosion occurred after a drone crashed shortly after entering its airspace from Romania. It crashed just 1 kilometer from the compressor station of the Trans-Balkan gas pipeline, an international energy hub connecting Turkey, Bulgaria, Romania, Moldova, and Ukraine. Radev detailed in an address to the media that the explosion did not result in any casualties, as he announced that Romania and Bulgaria both realize a need for increased surveillance operations after the drone violated both their airspaces undetected.
On this vote,
the United States Senate has approved a major sanctions package targeting Russia's energy revenues. This includes Russian officials, oligarchs, financial institutions, and the so-called shadow fleet. The bipartisan legislation would allow U.S. President Donald Trump to set tariffs up to 500% on Russian imports, including oil and gas.
Every barrel of oil that goes unsold, every dollar denied the Kremlin, makes it harder for Russia to finance its reign of terror, which every night Ukrainians endure.
Russia has waged war against Ukraine for far too long, and this bill assists President Trump in his noble efforts to bring it to a close. This legislation was deeply important to my brother, Lindsey, and I am grateful that this bill has achieved such a wide coalition of support.
The legislation now heads to the House of Representatives, although a vote there will not take place until at least early September. If adopted into law, Russian President Vladimir Putin himself would be among those targeted by the sanctions, as well as other top officials.
A full-blown row has erupted between Rome and Madrid after the Meloni government refused to accept the Spanish cabinet's ultimatum to lift border checks for people arriving in Italy from Spain. The measures came into effect on Saturday morning and are set to remain in place until 7 September. The Spanish government said its retaliatory measures mimic those of Rome's, meaning now Italian nationals arriving to the Iberian country by land, sea, or air will be asked to show an identity document, and non-EU nationals arriving from Italy will also be asked to present their Schengen visas or residence permit cards. Madrid added to the complications by detailing that Italian citizens arriving must present new issue identity cards in electronic format, warning that old paper cards would not be considered valid documents. Italy first imposed these measures against Spanish travelers following last week's influx of migrants into Spain's North African exclave of Ceuta and will run to at least 15 August. Spain denounced the measures, calling them contrary to the interests of the EU and discriminatory to the Spanish population.